a dream. My poor little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the...
Do we participate in a politics of cynicism, or do we participate in a politics of hope?
You can't be a world changer without being a changed man. Only changed people can change their world.
It has the power to inspire. It has the power to unite people in a way that little else does.
Good morning, welcome to another exciting package of the Leadership Breakfast, a show that builds leadership capacity for young people. And today I have a guest that's an exciting person. I read his CV about 5 days ago, and man, it's packed. Mr. Bwala is a lawyer. He's a member of the Nigerian Bar Association, the International Bar Association as well. He's a former student of the prestigious Coventry University in the UK. He's a member of several bodies across the world that has to do with the law profession. He recently contested for the Senate for the FCT under the umbrella of the All Progressives Congress, and currently he is the senior special assistant to the Deputy Senate President on political and constitutional matters. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Special advisor, actually.
Oh, special advisor, beg your pardon. He's the special advisor to the Deputy Senate President on political and constitutional matters.
Legal and constitutional matters.
Legal and constitutional matters.
Right.
Because I was going to say that combination is quite befitting for someone who has contested elections and someone who is a legal luminary.
Right.
I'm very, very soon going to add some to that list of long accolades.
Thank you very much.
I've been following you for a while, actually. I remember 2015 was the first time that I saw you on TV.
Right.
And from the things that you said and the way you spoke, I knew that this was someone who had something to offer. I know a lot of people would say there's a difference between an orator and someone who actually gets down to business when he gets the job.
Right.
Which is one of the reasons why we came up with this show, because when by recent trends in the country, a lot of young people are saying, we're going to contest, we want to get to leadership positions, but they don't know what it takes. Just like Barack Obama said, until you get behind the desk, you don't know what it takes to lead. So yes, whilst I may have listened to you and was quite impressed, now you have the opportunity, as they say, to get on the hot seat. We may not be the hot seat that you want, but of course that's not something that we totally discard right now, because more opportunities are forthcoming. So the first thing I'll take you up on is the leadership recruitment process in Nigeria, especially and in Africa, because a lot of young people say, I got a number of tweets yesterday where people were saying, so how can a governor be saying this? How can a sitting governor be saying this? So they're like, so how come we even elect these people in the first place? What are the things missing in our leadership recruitment process? And I'll give you a simple example. You can't do a major US presidential election in America without several debates.
Right.
I don't think that's a process that I hear that the current speaker had a bill to that effect that we must have debates, but I don't know how far that's gone in the National Assembly. What are the current faults in our leadership recruitment process?
Well, thank you for having me. Leadership is actually a character. You don't separate leadership and character. And leadership is what either you are built with or what you will learn by virtue of the experiences you have garnered. Experiences can be out of probably your sufferings or out of deliberate effort to learn the job. So either way, leadership is a virtue, leadership is a character. Unfortunately, the context in which or from which we talk about leadership from a broader perspective, sometimes when you bring it to application in Nigeria, it's quite different, because you find that people come into positions of power in Nigeria not necessarily because they have leadership quality, either because they are loyal to somebody who feels that if he sponsors them, he can then control them. Either somebody comes into power because someone felt, okay, if I sponsor this person, I can control him, or you're a child of someone. But it is not construed from the perspective of leadership in the sense in which you will talk about recruitment. Because if you look at it from the broader perspective, like in advanced countries, you find that people who come into leadership position are people who are either graduating from the college or people who are coming from the entrepreneurial world, where they came up with a concept, an idea, they birthed it into vision, and then they begin to watch it grow. In the process of growing that idea that they have to manage people who help them in managing the ideas. And then you begin to see some traits on how to manage people, how to manage the assets, how to manage the perception of people with the people you're working with. So some of these virtues you learn on the go. And it is very organic from the global point of view. So people can either develop an idea and begin to build character around the idea, and then they come up with this idea of being a leader. And then you also have that, you find that the policy in the advanced country is quite favorable to the youth. That is why you find that younger generation of people abroad, they come into leadership very fast because the environment is favorable to that. For example, in the advent of information and technology, if you are not a tech savvy, no matter the virtue that you have in advanced countries, you find that you struggle with somebody who is able in less than a week to impact 5 million or 10 million people at once. So what you have, who you want to eat. Yes, with one tweet. Exactly. What you have and who you are is effective, but only if someone knows or someone sees it. So the younger generation are able to, take advantage of this means and are able to showcase themselves. But in Nigeria, I thought about this idea of leadership, and I thought about in Nigeria, it's easy for somebody to just wish yourself to be a governor or wish yourself to be a president. But when you look at the country and you look at the need for a reform, if you want to change the country, you discover that the legislative branch of the government is the foundation. Now, whether in America or in Nigeria, you see that Section 4 comes first before Section 5.
Absolutely.
And Section 4 is about legislation.
Yes.
The country in America came to be via legislation. They all agree, and then from there they produce president. That is how important the lawmaking is. So I conceived the idea. And of course, all through my life, from when I was in my church as a youth leader, I learned organizing, how to organize people towards a common objective. And then in school as well, I represented Nigeria. I represented Nigeria abroad, came second in the world, interact with people, develop ideas, talk about issues. So some of these things sort of build up the character. Over a period of time, as you study people and learn from them, and then you read books as well, you begin to have this idea of, okay, I can be a part of this change. Then I came up with this idea. I started with a few couple of millions, but I had my vision. And I went around talking to younger generation. I discovered that on the social media platform, you can conveniently govern. But when it comes to bringing it out to the real world, you discover that some of the people that flow in the same frequency with you on social media are unable to come out of the social media to effect the change, which led to this protest you're seeing. And people began to talk about the NSAS and say, if these NSAS protesters actually channel their energy into the 2019 election, they probably would have had a couple of people in government.
Absolutely.
So this is where we have the problem of leadership recruitment. You can talk all you want, but you have to take part in it. But then you have to organize. I was influenced. One of the things that informed my decision to run, when I conceived the idea, I was in South Dakota. I met with Senator John Thune, who is the chair of the Commerce Committee of Congress. And he's from Republican. He's from South Dakota, a Republican. In fact, the third most ranking, about 28. She was 28. She was a bartender, but then she learned community organizing, right? And then with a budget of about $800,000, she defeated an 11th-term congressperson with a budget of about $1.something million. But that's because their environment favored this idea of community organizing.
Yes.
So if you ask me, I would say the first leadership criteria in Nigeria for younger generation of people coming into politics and effective is to conceive the idea of governance. It has to come by way of a vision in your heart. If you want to buy into the idea because you see the way politicians run things in Nigeria, then your motivation is more likely going to be built upon affluence and show of money and then display of power, use of thoughts and all that. But that's the example that the generation of people in politics at the moment are bequeathing to the younger generation. So if you want to take this country in a bigger way, it has to start by you conceiving the vision of the type of Nigeria you want, or if you want to go into the lawmaking, the type of laws you are coming in to impact. If you have done that in your heart as a person, you conceive the idea, you build on that, and you believe that you have the capacity, the next thing is organizing, which is not what we talk about at the moment. You have to then begin to organize. That means the vision that you have, begin to have people buying into it. It comes through many ways. You can take advantage of the social media. You can use other conventional platforms of sharing what you think is the right. Because after all is said and done, you need people to vote.
Right.
And if they must vote, then they must buy the idea you're talking. And they cannot come on the day of election to run out and then start voting for you. People who get voters like that in Nigeria use a number of factors. They use religion. They use regional sentiment. So somebody wakes up, he doesn't like you, but he feels that if he goes to vote for you, he's voting for his religion. He goes. But we are looking at a Nigeria where these things will not be factors for consideration, where your vision will move somebody to come out and say, look, apart from the fact that I'm going to vote for Mr. A and B, I am going to organize people to go out and vote for them. Why? Because what I think as my idea of a Nigerian of tomorrow, what he is talking about is sort of in sync with what I'm talking about. You see, life, people are motivated in life by what they believe will first affect them and then affect the people they care about. And so you have to first be able to do the organizing. And I think that in 2023, forget what you're saying in my party, APC or PDP, there's going to come a generation of people, because what NSAS has done is to make people believe that you can say all you want until you begin to organize. You cannot effect the change. But you're going to see that in 2023, there's going to be not just awareness, but engagement and involvement of the younger people in politics, because they have already begun this organizing. Now they believe that through social media, they can harness ideas and bring people from every part of the country. If you look at the NSAS protests, actually typifies and exemplifies what the youth can do by coming into politics and then effecting the change that they want. Because if you look at the way in which they organized themselves, it was excellent. The only missing link was that the NSAS people could not take advantage of opportunity. When they were able to drive home the message and the president conceded to everything they had, they were supposed to leave the street and then give the government like 6 months. If they don't see, they come back. Then that fear factor of the younger generation is going to be more on government. But as they continue to stay there, when you come to the extent or the end of an idea, and you can't create again or innovate again, what is likely going to happen is that you have what we call law of diminishing return. You begin to buy into other people's ideas. They say, if you don't know where you're going, you end up where others are going. Right. So if you don't know what to do, you end up doing what someone is doing, thinking what he's doing consists or rhymes with what you're doing. And that was how these guys were able to infiltrate and then destroy that. So my advice for the younger generation in Nigeria, apart from conceiving the idea and coming up with the vision of the Nigeria you want or the place you want to effect in government, you must begin this community organizing. We have to do that. And we organize across religion, beyond regionalism. We begin to find that common goal that brings us together. When we look at Canada, you look at France, you look at the United States, you look at countries that younger people were able to break into government, and they were not children of the rich. They were not children that were propelled by someone else. They were propelled by the ideas. If that has to happen, then we, the generation that are coming up, must imbibe that idea and then begin to work. Let us do more of community organizing than just activities on social media. We did a research, and we found out that on the day of election, less than 28% of people who have lived their lives on social media actually go out to vote. So you want a change, I want a change. But the change we want some spirits to go and do it. You get it? Right. And most of the times it is because we lose confidence. If I go and place my vote, it doesn't matter. Nobody, I will say this, I will say this. So we lose hope. The people that go and sit and wait for the whole day as they give their voting are either those ones that will not push or those ones who are also thugs. So they can put a vote and then stand there. But if we have this same Nigeria, they said I think on Twitter or Facebook, they said Nigeria is one of the top 10 countries that do engagement. There is this data analytics that will give you. They say Nigerians are constructively engaging. You can imagine if that kind of engagement that we have will translate it into community organizing.
Right.
Believe me, by 2023, we have not less than 60% of younger generation in the National Assembly.
Right.
And then you begin to now break through into government. We have found a breakthrough where in the north, we have a good number of governors who are graduates. So in the same way, we can begin to work towards ensuring that these things is replicated. Younger generation have a takeover of government. But you must know, and I must know, that power is not given. You have to take it. And this old generation of people that I see in the country are prepared to go to the grave with the power in their hands. And the only way we can get the power, we have to organize. Because after all is said and done, they will need us to go and do the voting, or need us to go and do the toggling. Whatever the older generation want to do, my brother, they still use the younger. You can imagine if you come to a community and you're organizing them for violence, and they say, no, let your son lead.
Right.
There will be change. So that's the first and most important concept of organizing. And I think that is what Nigerians like. Because if you see Nigerians abroad, UK, US, they do incredible things. So it's not about lack of ideas. People have ideas. Sometimes just give them the opportunity. When you give them the opportunities, look at people in government. I can't hide it. I'm not hidden that fact. With my party, one of my greatest disappointment in this second term, because in the first time I felt it was the appointment was done to carry on, party people, we form the government, let's party be involved. I've always thought that the second term of every president or every governor is about consolidation. And at that time, you don't need me to vote for you. I rather need you to chart a course for me. So at that time, public office holders get the opportunity to bring in bureaucrats and ideas to the table for change. But when we came into the second term, and I saw replication of the same set of appointees in the first time, I told some of our people that would care to listen. I said, you can define the extent and the limit of progress by the amount or the quality of people that you see on the go. You have little or no success at all, because generation of younger people who have those ideas and can organize for government are not the ones in government.
Unfortunately so. All right, I want to pick you up on this. You put it in a sort of different way. I have always said that the legislature is the heart of any democracy.
Right.
Once you take out the heart, the human ceases to exist.
Correct.
You work in the legislature. By the grace of God, we'll see you as a senator someday. But right now, you work with the Deputy Senate President.
Right.
What's your assessment of Nigeria's National Assembly as we speak? Vis-a-vis the fact that, for instance, we heard that in the past 4 years, 2015 to 2019, for instance, an example is that the president wanted to borrow money several times, and probably for their own reasons. The leadership of the Senate at the time almost always refused any such attempt.
Right.
It may not have necessarily been because they didn't want to plunge us into debt, but it may have been for their own political reasons. I mean that was a step in the right direction. We also heard that they also turned down a number of nominations by the president. But there's a far cry of that in this present dispensation. What your assessment is this National Assembly, and I'm not just talking about the Senate alone.
Right.
This National Assembly, are they serving the Nigerian people or serving the political elite?
Right. So I will answer this way. I have had the privilege of coming close to where they are. I wanted to be there, I didn't get it. And maybe God wanted me to first see how it works. And as advisor to the Deputy President of the Senate on legal and constitutional matters, the entire gamut of constitutional process, the 9th Assembly, was conceived and started from my office. And from the private capacity of Deputy and Senate President, we helped in building 10 landmark constitutional alterations, which has passed second reading and is at committee stage. When I talk about landmark, I mean landmark, factoring the youth in appointment, factoring the youth, all inclusiveness. Now, I have also interacted with a couple of, and I'm still interacting with some of them. Some of them are my friends. For example, the speaker is somebody like a senior and a very good friend. We related, we share ideas, and quite a number of senators there. I see the National Assembly as an institution that primarily wants the good for Nigeria. However, it requires leadership for direction. In other words, it constitutes of 104 or so members, the Senate, and then you come to
109.
209,
Yes.
the Senate, and when you come to the House of Reps, then you have over 300, I guess. Good. If one or two persons have a good vision, the idea of constitutionalism is that you have to sell the idea and get a greater number of the people for your bill to pass. With respect to the president's request to borrow, I can tell you that from the perspective that I'm seeing, from the vantage position, their initial fear was not born out of personalism, but because the previous borrowing, we couldn't see commensurate impact.
Right.
And they bear the responsibility of ensuring that Nigeria is not plunged into debt. Exactly. So justify what has been before. For example, so many borrowing for the military intervention, and here we are after many years. We are talking about security problems in the country. So they, under the doctrine of separation of power, they need to play the role of showing a little bit of carefulness. I also believe that in this 9th assembly, they are too friendly with the president. I said that in my recent interview, and the leadership of the Senate Island was very air. They even reported me to the deputy president of the Senate. But I'm not saying that because I have anything against him. I'm saying that out of a pure heart. That even if I'm friends with you in the executive, but I will give you an example. 1, 2, or 3 occasions, members of the executive branch went for confirmation or were invited to come and explain something, and they went and just like pee on the National Assembly. One came and even dramatized fainting. The other one came and told them, if you don't have anything to say, I'm going, and he left. The other one came and said it didn't happen in the past. So that independence of the judiciary is necessary. So my answer to you, sir, is that they really want the good of Nigeria. At least I can't say all, but majority. And once you have majority in democratic government, then you have all. But where they need leadership is that they need an executive that will help. You know, it is like every human element has a tendency for good and bad. With rules and regulation, you do better. Without rules and regulation, you are likely to do exactly. So this is the point I'm saying, that the leadership sector and deputy president of the Senate, whom I carefully chose to work with, is somebody who the little times that I've sat and talked with him, he truly wants a unified Nigeria. He's from the Niger Delta and from the north. That should tell you his desire. He wants a unified Nigeria. And you need to see when he talks about constitutional reform. He wants this kind of constitutional reform that will bring Nigerians together. Right? So the wishes are there. But personally, I will tell you, from when we began this constitutional process, 1 year we could not do much because the funding was not made available. So this type of a thing can discourage you. I don't know, I think I was told that recently it was approved. But for 1 year we couldn't do. Our target was that by this year, June, everything about constitutional reform is done, because from next year, people start planning for election.
Absolutely.
So wishes and will and plan and desire is not enough. You need vision and support system. So that's why I said in a nutshell. But that is not to say because they wish well for Nigeria, they don't also think about themselves, because that's another aspect of politics. Politics is about interest. Interest and patriotism is what politicians battle with every day. You have interest, you come together, but in achieving your interest, you must be patriotic. So at what point do you concede and sacrifice your interest for the greater good of Nigeria? At what point do you mortgage the patriotism for your own interest? That management of these two is the challenge of every lawmaker anywhere in the world. You see the recent thing in America, how that it was said that the national interest of America was mortgaged because the lawmakers wanted to support, and or they feared that if you don't support Donald Trump, he's going to hit your base or something like that. So it's not a challenge with Nigeria, it's a challenge everywhere in the world. And I think that the Nigerian lawmakers, the only thing I can say, I've said it before, is that they need to be a little more tough on the executive branch. When you are tough, it doesn't mean you are saying no. Toughness means so that whatever you come to me to talk about, you must authenticate it, you must make it genuine. People have also raised issue about their pay. They collect this, they collect that. You know, before, I criticized them heavily on that. Haven't gone in. I realized that when you see lawmakers demonstrating money, it may be lawmakers that are privileged to head committees where agencies of government are able to support them. But in terms of what comes to them to their constituency, you heard Sheikh Sali the other time say about 11 or 13 million comes every month to the constituency. Now, constituency is not in Abuja.
In your state.
It's in your state. Unfortunately, there are agencies of government, recently ICPC is beginning to do that. They are supposed to be the one to follow through because constituency project that you hear about, when it is given, the execution is still to MDAs. So if a lawmaker eats the money, that means it colluded with MDAs. And that's why agency like ICPC is supposed to be proactive. You don't wait until the money is siphoned before you begin to call EFCC. ICPC goes ahead to begin to look at procurement, execution, and all of that. So, yeah, in a nutshell, everybody who works needs someone to check you. That is democracy. The National Assembly needs check from this perspective I'm talking about, and the executive needs check from the National Assembly. But there is more to be done by our lawmakers in understanding the corporate interests of Nigeria.
Well, I tend to agree with you, going by recent happenings in the United States that you briefly mentioned. We had one or two senators who broke with Donald Trump, even when he was at risk to them getting reelected, and one actually didn't get reelected. In this dispensation, I learned that the person who President Biden nominated for the budget office of the White House, there are two Democratic senators saying they would not vote for her. And you know, it's a 50-50 house. So if you lose two Democrats, it means that most likely she will not pass.
Exactly.
You know, so I understand what you're trying to say. However, in advancing the cause of our democracy, the legislature is so important that when you unbundle certain things, for instance, the PIB that has been in the National Assembly for upwards of 20-21 years, you then say, I believe that this current National Assembly said they were going to pass it, but I don't know, we don't see that happening, but probably.
But you have heard recently, I think it was reported how that the Senate President was decried that there are foreign elements and multinational oil companies in Nigeria that are sabotaging it. There was a time, if you remember, WikiLeaks made a publication about Nigeria where they said that Shell and Chevron have secondment of their agents in every department of government. Where if anything is going to come out and to be adverse to them, they would have known in advance and kill it. They do that in America as well. So the PIB, the reason why it is not passed into law, at least haven't heard the deputy president, haven't heard the president of the Senate said that, confirm the fears I have always had that the foreign bodies and multinational companies that are operating in Nigeria will make sure that by all means they frustrate. And there are many ways they frustrate. It can be contractual issue. They will raise a dispute matter in which it will be taken to abroad, taken to the UK court, either for arbitration or taken to New York for court litigation. That is one bread. They may also use money to pump into the National Assembly and ensure that people are never in agreement. I'm just saying possibilities, because this is consistent with what foreign organizations do. And at the same time, they can frustrate the process. So, but this National Assembly, I've heard them over and over insisting they will balkanize it and then begin to pass them into law. Now, this is the second year, we still have 2 more years to go. If you want to help National Assembly to pass into law, I've told my base, the Nigerian Bar Association, one of the programs we had in which I was giving my own presentation. I said, when we go public hearing for major constitutional or bills, alteration, or bills passage and whatever, you don't see NDA. It is when it has become law, they go to the TV and begin to criticize it. But the way it is built, you are supposed to be there in public hearing to either lift it or to kill it.
Absolutely.
When they did the sexual harassment bill, come and see vice chancellors and lecturers from the university, who are the predators, most of them. They came and fought against the passage of that law, because that bill, which of course, to the credit of Deputy President of the Senate, was sponsored by him, was to say that once there is a fiduciary relationship between lecturer and student, it doesn't matter if the girl is above 18, that whatever you do to her is rape and it is statutory. They came and fought against it. So, if the media, the various interest groups in Nigeria make it a point of duty to go to the National Assembly and fight for the passage into law of the PID, then you see success. You recall about 2 weeks ago when these they took to public hearing this conversation for host communities.
Yeah.
That they want for.
There was a fight.
That was a fight. So you see, any area of progress to the country, you will find some form of foreign intervention in some way, negative or positive. It will require back to the same issue we talk about, organizing, so that we'll go with one common purpose. No matter what happens, we will make sure that this is passing to law. There are different segments, elements, contractors, oil market, all kinds. So we need to come together to make it a success. In essence, I'm saying that it is not just the sole duty of the National Assembly. We need to come and make them know we are committed to making sure that this happens.
Okay, let's leave a little bit of controversy and come to your journey politically. You contested for Senate. If a young man or young woman who's going to contest in 2023 walks up to you and says, what were your takeouts from that experience and what would you advise he or she? What are the things that you would tell about your political journey?
I will tell them first and foremost that politics can discourage somebody who has a clean vision. I encountered that. Where in our primaries, good as we project the party, it turned out to become a money politics. When you are doing organizing and you go to a community and you're talking about what you intend to do for them, they're asking you for money. They break, if you come to a community of 50 people, they will present to you about 5 to 10 different various groups, and they'll present that so you can give them money. Since you won't give directly to somebody, so they'll say this community want to do this. So it's all about money. What I will tell the person is it will require conviction. Conviction. That is not something will discourage you to go into politics in Nigeria, because the base that you want to effect change aren't looking at it from the way you're looking at it. They believe there is need to change. They complain about the politicians. You come to say you're offering yourself for the service, they still say, what is it that you could give us? That is one. The second part is that I will tell the young man, you have to, again, brings us back to the issue of organizing, which will give you the ability to do crowdfunding. Because anything other than that, you will have to rely on one big man or one big organization. Like if it's in the US, they call them super PACs, but their own is even in a more organized way, to fund your program. And at the end of the day, yes, and then you have problems. You've had in the past where people are taken into secret places, like secret society, make them to make votes and all that. So if the young man does, when you do organizing and you already have support system, you can do crowdfunding, and that will be helpful. But that conviction is beyond everything else, because you will see from the first knock as you go into the politics, you will see enough signs for you to back out. I just get angry. It's like I am sick and lying down. Nobody has come to give me medication. And then suddenly you come see me in my state and then rush out, bought me medication and everything. You come back at the door, I enter. And you say, this is here are the medication as prescribed by the doctor. I got it from the pharmacy. And they say, thankfully, you can even take it. And then I'm telling you, apart from this medication, what money can I get? Can't you understand? You are in a state, you are in a very deplorable state, and I decided to help you. Is that what you think? So, if you do not have the vision to say, okay, let me carefully, through engagement, convince this person that is lying down, that if only you can let go of this money you are looking and take this drug, once you are well, you can on your own make the money that you are asking. That thing is what I will tell the young man who was going to politics. Are you prepared to face it? If he says yes, I will say go. If he says no, I will say back out. If he says yes, but how do I manage it? I will say let's say that. Because it is still not an issue for the young men to back out because they feel it is impossible. We have to keep knocking it so we can de-emphasize by ourselves as younger generation of people through the various platforms that we have. We de-emphasize those things that do not matter. By first of all, telling people, when people bring money politics, you know that it's like a Greek gift. Any gift that they give to you, there is something to demand. And you have to decide to make the sacrifice. Either you eat your future today or you fight for your future against tomorrow. So this is one of the things I'll tell you.
What's your solution to money politics? Not just in the primaries. You experienced it in your own primaries. I experienced it twice. Once in 2014 and then the other in 2018.
Right.
Both at the primaries and at the general elections.
Right.
Recently, we're in Ondo State. We're one of the NGOs accredited to.
Right.
And you could see. You could see. So what's your own solution to money politics? Because as it were, a lot of people say, okay, let's amend the Electoral Act, because there's nothing in that act that says if someone gives somebody money or something that you can disqualify that candidate. Amendment, yes, but what other solutions do you think we can put in place to curb it?
It is the same solution that I would say or I would give a solution to stealing. You can never stop people from stealing, but you can make stealing unpopular.
Right.
The minute you make stealing unpopular and stigmatize thieves, then you begin to see the reduction in the appetite to go towards stealing. But if you say you are going to stop people from stealing, meanwhile the appetite for stealing is there, and there is no punitive measures for that, then at the end of the day, you know. So that's why you see the politics. The more you talk about people should not collect money, the more they go. So, what is it that we will need to do to de-emphasize the money politics? It's going to involve a lot of sacrifice, right? The first one, in my view, and people can have a lot of ideas, is to paint the picture to those voters that this man who is bringing money into the politics is like the case of somebody who wants to do blood money. He wants to give you money, but you have heard from a reliable source that as soon as you collect the money, he takes your luck. When you know your attitude, I've heard of a politician, they said, allegedly, he went to a local place to campaign, but information had gone by his opponent that this person is coming to do blood money, and then this man came and was spreading money. Nobody took it. As poor as the community was, nobody wants to touch it because if I take it, it's my life. How do we communicate in a way that our people, when I talk about our people, I mean the same downtrodden, because politicians study them, they know the hunger is of a nature, that nothing you say that they will hear. So, how do we communicate in the message in a way that they will see now? It's not about if you take it, he takes your future, their infrastructure. But as if you take it, he takes your life. As if it's a blood money. How do we come? While we wait for enforcement. Enforcement is a problem. I feel that President Bwala poses the greatest opportunity to bring about reform in Nigeria, being that him as a person does not believe in money politics. So you can see how he's been overwhelmed by people around. Do you get the point? So if we can find a breakthrough in convincing the people by cogent and compelling evidence, and there are, to be honest with you, cogent and compelling evidence, because all of these lawmakers who have come and got your vote and walked away, if you look at your constituency, you can see that they have not been able to do anything.
Absolutely.
If we can convince the people to see that when they come, they are here again, then we will be able to discourage the idea of money politics. Alternatively, naming and shaming. Assuming our media, they are, because the Nigerian media, I'm friends to them, but I have never ceased to tell them they are one of the greatest disappointments. They don't do investigative journalism. I'm just being honest with you, my brother. Sometimes when you appear in television and you're bearing your mind, telling truth to power, it is a journalist who will be telling you to be careful. Instead of journalists probing you to even say it. Then secondly, journalists wait to be fed by people who do investigation. And it is actually the duty of the journalist to dig so that when you come, they fact check you with what you're saying and the facts. So how can we convince the journalists to place premium on the younger generation and generation of money politics? Can we? If we can, excellent. You see that the minute group of young people come together and they say, not too young to know, it will be covered for 1 week, 2 weeks, and then nobody thinks about it. But the money politics come and then you see sustained conversation on mundane issue that never goes there. If you look at CNN, you look at Fox, you look at some, you see the way they emphasize. Younger generation find it very easy to thrive. Because then the media begin to cover what you are doing in your community that is impacting. This man does not have multi-million, but he was able to organize the community, organize people. They put borehole there. They're able to do this and build a primary school, or they build healthcare. If the media stay on this for a while, you see that the voters' perception is going to change. Oh, now this one matter. See, money you don't even get. See what you do for our area. But they would never cease covering those who bring money, because sometimes the media houses need this sensationalism, and sometimes they need to survive. This is the second challenge. First challenge, if we can convince the voters, if we can convince them that what matters is your future, and you can let go of today's temptation for the future. And every man who comes now is coming, who has not done anything, is coming for your future one. And if you can convince the media to focus, because let me be honest with you, sir, and to your viewers, despite what is happening in Nigeria, Nigerians are doing incredible things in the community. If you see Nigerians who are running NGOs, they are doing incredible things. If you go to the Northeast and see the indigenous NGO risking their lives, trying to help, but who is talking about them? That's the point. So you see somebody, look at when it took Mark Zuckerberg to convince our government that Nigerians are tech-savvy. He came to Nigeria and he didn't even want to come see the president. Yeah. It was the government that sent for him. He came and stayed in Lagos with guys who are entrepreneurs. Have the media people focus on that? My brother, this is the challenge that we have. If, I don't know how, but if we can get these two things changed, if we can get these two things, we can change the narrative, in other words. If we can change the narrative, brother, we will change things. Because this is the same Nigerians here, they travel abroad, they do. Every time I travel abroad for whatever endeavor, I've always confessed. We did, when I was in my undergraduate studies, we did client counseling competition in Nigeria. I was in the undergraduate study, we came first in Nigeria. We represented Nigeria in Cardiff University in the global competition. We beat USA, we beat Scotland. That is, with limited infrastructure in Nigeria. We came short of winning to New Zealand. And after the program, one of the judges was telling us that it's very possible that the judges could not give us the score that would have caused us to win because they couldn't understand some of the things we were saying based on our accent. Wow. Because the ideas were the same. That's what they say, peradventure. Now, but these same Nigerians, when we came back and we were recommended to our respective governors for scholarship, none looked at our direction. If in America, you get something like that, before your government you hear, you will see various interest organizations will just shoot you up. We do not and have not established a platform. But I'm telling you, sorry, sir. It may take crisis. It may take that type of revolution like NSAS. But one day, the youth will forcefully collect the power. The only thing is, we need to collect it through this constructive engagement. We need to collect. There has to be a generational baton pass. If this generation of older people in government go, you see, when you talk to the young, none is ready because they have not been integrated into government. That's why Senator Omar Akige now proposed an alteration where at the federal government and the state level, it is now mandatory that in every cabinet or ambassadorial or DG appointment or any form of appointment of government, not less than 5% will become people below the age of 40. And not less than 8% will be female. So that probably when it becomes, since our people don't want to work with vision, when it becomes a law, whether you like me or not, you must get about at least a certain percentage of younger people. So this is what I look, going forward, the younger generation. So how do we change the narrative? For now, if you look at engagement on social media platforms, we seem to be focusing more on things that divide us as a younger generation than on visionary concept. If you do anything that will divide this part against this part, it will have the wider view and pleasant comment. If you say anything that tends towards unifying, the same younger generation will begin to condemn you. Because usually sensation is just like the media, the way they fall into temptation. Sensation move faster. Sensation generate traffic. So we need to engage. Brings me back to the same thing I've started saying, and I'll keep saying, community organizing. We must organize our people to see the future we want to go. You can never future in the future that you do not conceive. Yes.
Now, as we round up, the big picture, for me, because there's already a redefining of our society.
Right.
Because of the level of insecurity and how our leaders are handling it.
Right.
2023 will birth so many things.
Right.
It probably might even divide this country. So, what are the basic things that young people who want to go for strategic positions, state legislature, federal legislature, even the governorship, the presidency may be a little bit out of reach for us right now. We must also be realistic.
Right.
It's not impossible.
Right.
But given the circumstances, we have 2 years.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of much more than that if you really want to build a momentum to shoot at that. But what are the things that young people who are aspiring to positions for 2023, going by the issues surrounding us as a country right now?
Right.
What are the things they should shoot at and be strategic at?
About it?
Yes.
I do not have a limit even to the president, but it depends on what we take as the strategy. For example, for a young person to be a president, there are 2 ways. Either to come through the main, that's what we call the establishment. You come through the political platform that already have a structure. So you come through the ranks and win the primaries. So if you can organize and get delegates to vote you in the primaries and you become the flag bearer of the party, you stand a better chance because structures are in place. So how do you do that? You do that by looking at those who influence things in the party and sell the idea. When they see that they don't have a future and they feel they can also be a part of making you president and tend to think that, okay, if we make him president, we can get some degree of loyalty, they can make that happen. That's one. 2, for the younger generation to float a party, which is the part that I believe you may be looking at it as too early, and quite frankly, it's too early because you have to then have structures across the nation.
Yes.
And then you have people that will move and organize. I'm not talking about people that come together during the election, make noise, and then go away. You get the point. So that one. But then you have governorship. So the same fears that you express for attaining to the position of a president is the same that is applicable even to that of the Senate, because the governor wants to be the one that will decide who becomes a senator and who becomes House of Representatives, including chairman. So the youth, I think that, somebody said that America as a country, they may not like you as a leader of a particular country, maybe you are not dancing to their tune. When you are very popular, it becomes difficult for them to rechange you when they want to do regime change. But when they see that your popularity is waning, then they will capitalize on the strongest group that is bringing down your popularity. So that if this group rise to power, they will say, amen. So this younger generation can begin the conversation. Like what happened in NSA. I'm just imagining that there is a lockdown in the entire country. Every part of Nigeria. The youth say they are not moving an inch until all established political parties get candidates for various posts. It will reach a consensus. Without the NSAS occupying the street, the president may not have conceded to the request.
Absolutely.
And he conceded because he saw that these people are not just talkers. They sat there and they got international support. That is how states respond. These people are serious. In politics, if you talk and go, when a group come together, talk, one politician, give them money, and then they are quiet, they know you're not prepared. So, how do we go there? For someone who wants to go to the House of Rep, begin to engage with the government to get his goodwill. That's if you are going to run in here, established political party. If you are going to float your own political party, you can win position of House of Rep member, you can win Senate, and as long as it's within your state. But when it comes to national, you need collaboration. Unfortunately, we do not have this independent candidacy. And lately, I'm hearing that apart from George Washington, there has never been an independent candidate that won in America. They say even him, he won, and George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, that even him, he won because of the war, the revolution. Because he led the war, you know. And that's so, in other words, they are saying that independent candidacy may be quite difficult. And I know that even when it was introduced in the 8th Assembly, it died because if you raise it like that, you're going to have more than 5 million people running for presidential post in the country. Organize, engage, participate. Be with the ruling party and be with the non-ruling party. That's the advantage that the North has in politics over the other parts of the country. The West too are. Where they don't bring all their eggs in one political party. You will see them in all political parties. So that if they lose in this one, that one they don't lose out. So if the youth can adopt that strategy where, as we think about a new party that thinks only about the youth. For example, there's a friend of mine, the chairman of Young Progressive Party. The young man is really wanting the youth to come and take over. The party is just open to anybody who has idea. And anybody who wants to run, it is not until in 2022 that you start talking. It is now. You begin to engage, you begin to build, you begin to organize. When that time comes, you become a force. I'll give you a very funny story as we end. In this FCT, I said I was going to run for Senate. While I was battling at the primaries, the incumbent was G2. How do I know? We eventually met. And he told me, he said, thank God, your party didn't give you the ticket. And he said, because one, you have good popularity. Everybody sees you in the country, in the media and everything. But beyond that, you have leadership skill. Your idea sells fast. He said, an FCT is a melting pot. Of course. So if you had gotten the ticket of your party, it would have been a very tough thing for me. But I'm glad they didn't give me party. He's saying that before a subcommittee of Senate on Constitutional Review, in the presence of Deputy President of the Senate, then he now turned to him and said, now that he's here, I beg, more we broker the deal. In 2020, let him go for House of Rep, let me support him and leave me for Senate. If I had not met with him, I didn't have that engagement, you probably have been somewhere thinking you may not have made that impact. But what has helped and brought me to a point where he had that feeling that it may or may not work is because I was doing organizing. Everywhere you go, people are saying, oh, this is a melting pot, we want the younger generation. So that type of thing you do, you discover that other politicians will just give up. Somebody who wants to run again, when he sees the speed and the momentum you are building, he said, I don't want to waste my money. Either I retire, or I will even come and say, okay, let's sit down. See, I will support you for this post. You will leave me for this post. So if you are thinking of Senate, they will say, go down to House of Rep, and I retain the Senate. Assuming you are guaranteed, I never agree with you. But assuming you do agree, then you are guaranteed support for House of Rep. You have a younger generation of person. Yeah.
And I was thinking of this. You're one of the young people in the APC for the national scale. Are you thinking of setting up, because it's not just about, like I tell young people, to get involved in the 3 most critical processes to your life. 1, the political, 2, the electoral, 3, the governance process. Right. Are you thinking of setting up some sort of pressure group within the APC that would include young like minds like you to say, look, this party, yes, you are telling us to register to be a member of the party, this and that, but these are the things that we want, and you must listen to us.
I intend to do that after the Congress, because every exercise before Congress is a waste.
Right.
And I will tell you that. For example, even this idea of membership revalidation, so you wrong use of word, somebody goes to court, they will charge you. You cannot revalidate somebody who was registered. They would have better used it. They would have used the term to say membership verification. So we just want to if you say membership verification means you are a member, we want you just to come and verify. So they do that everything tallies. Do you get? When you say revalidation, for a member who has not left the party and whose membership is valid, what are you validating? And in fact, there is even a bigger picture, because if you do that, you are saying that as far as this exercise is concerned, nobody has the status of a member until after the validation. So under what capacity are you operating as National Working Committee or National Executive Committee? It goes to the root of legitimacy, but I don't want to say
it before they come and say, well, Mr. Bwala, it's been a very interesting time speaking to you on the show. I never had any doubts as to the fact that we'll have a very wonderful session. We'll keep tabs with you because even the national leader of the party, in quotes, Bwala he himself said what you said: power is not served a la carte. So pressure groups would also ensure that they listen to us more.
Right.
And I look forward to of course, being a part of that process as well.
At all times.
To ensure that young people are given a space to, if not anything, learn. Because in developed climes like the US, the UK, even Singapore, they can send young people to Ivy schools abroad, Oxford, Cambridge, and then brought them back to the Singaporeans. Don't stay there.